Welcome back to Wedlocked and Loaded.
Wedlocked and loaded.
You women.
Do not lump us all in one category.
So you girls, and lie and stretch the truth and try
girls,
to get us jammed up.
First of all, I'm a whole ass woman, right? Think about
no
that.
No disrespect.
Sounds like it to me. So why can't y'all? What is it with men that they just can't walk away?
Depends how good it is. You don't want to give that away.
Greetings, welcome back, Wedlocked and Loaded. I am Daniel Laurent. We are going to get into a show that we did recently live on Instagram with Aaron and Anthony Davis of the Davis System. If you weren't able to watch it live, hopefully you check it out now.
Some really dope people with one of the dopest names ever.
Oh boy.
The Davis System. You know what I'm saying? That's a really, really dope name. And I'm speaking unbiasedly, of course. Right?
Whatever.
Yeah. Hold on, can I get in? What happened? Accept. Go live. You're unable to join. How come they can't join? What happened? Keep trying. You know what? This happened with somebody before. But what happened?
Do they have to request?
They requested, but it was something on their end. I don't know if let me see. See if I can. Yeah, I see y'all there. But here, let me try to re-invite y'all and see if you can get in. Let's see. Accept. Go live.
There we go.
There we go. Y'all can hear us?
Yeah, can you all hear?
Hold on. You know what?
Audio's
Let me
fine.
just do something. Because your Bluetooth is on, so it's going to end up impacting. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not here.
Anyway, hi.
Don't interrupt. Oh, we can't hear. We can't hear y'all.
Can't hear us?
Say something. Yep, we can hear you. Okay. I just gonna, I got to do all the technical stuff because if I don't do it, you know what I'm saying?
What happens?
I mean, just so you know. So anyway, Wedlocked and Loaded. This is an edition of System Wedlocked, and we called it that because we are joined by the world famous the Davis System LLC. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being on. Can y'all hear us?
Thank you for having us.
I think it's a delay.
It might be a delay.
Wait a minute. Are y'all here or y'all away?
Here in Boston.
You're here? Okay.
But if they was away, how do you know they want people to know where they at?
Fair enough. All right. So there's a couple of things we wanted to get into, right? And I think that I myself have a ton of questions. Leah's very nosy, so I'm just putting that out there up front, right? And I just had to deal with that and accept it. I can't change her.
Just tell the people you love it. Just tell them.
So we wanted to start by doing, well, first, thanks everyone that's tuning in, that's wedlocked in, that's been following us, that's sharing, commenting, all that good stuff. We want to encourage people that's in the chat, feel free to comment. If you have a question, Leah is normally the person that's going to be on it, but maybe I'll do it or we'll share it. And, we'll definitely try to work things in and honor people's comments because we definitely want to have it interactive. But I wanted to start with just an introduction of both of you, because you're not from Boston originally, right? You are. Wait, so we can't hear. You're not using the earpiece, right? You know what? Is your Bluetooth thing checked on your phone? Uncheck it if it is.
Oh, because at one point we was able to hear them.
But see, that's what I think that's part of it. If you have the Bluetooth thing on, it messes it up. Yeah. You turned it off?
Cheers. Better now?
Yeah, it was on, right?
Yep, it was on.
But now the echo.
Now it's an echo. But I mean, I think it's fine. It is what it is. Let me just make sure nothing else is on. You got all these things. You got all these things on your phone.
Listen,
All right.
don't do that.
You too. You got like a million.
So that's okay. That's why it's my phone.
You got
You want control of it, you should have used yours.
you got only fan requests popping up while we're trying to talk to the good
You're a
people.
hater.
All right. So anyway, so can you introduce yourself and where you're from, and then we want to like really dig into your business.
You want to go first?
Okay, y'all can hear me though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'm Erin Davis. I was born and raised in Fields Corner area in Boston. Went to high school, middle school, everything in the Dorchester, Roxbury area. Graduated from Salem State in 2014 and had the honor to go work for Congress, working for Bonnie Watson Coleman from actually New Jersey when I first graduated from Congress, and that ultimately led me to my job for Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, which is how we met, but I won't go too far into that story. But that is just a little bit about me. Oh, I'm Trinidadian too. That's very important too.
Okay.
And Anthony, for those who don't know me, shout out, hey Richie, see you in the comments. That's family. I am originally from the Prince George's County, Maryland area, right outside of Washington, D.C. Born and raised. Went to one of two kids. I have a older sister who is a mother of four, and five now. Jeez, she just had a child the other day. So five.
Congratulations. Congrats, uncle.
Congrats. Thank you. And then growing up in the PG County area, I went down to Morehouse College for college, graduated in 2016, and since have been in kind of the political arena as well. I went to the National NAACP office in Baltimore after graduating from Morehouse and working in their youth and college division. And then after leaving Morehouse, after leaving the NAACP, I became a campaign rat. So started working on campaigns really around the country. Worked on campaigns down to municipal campaigns up to presidential campaigns, and have got to travel around the country as a result of that work. And also, I guess in 2018, I had the opportunity to come up and work on Congresswoman Presley's first campaign for Congress, and went down to work in her office in DC. And as Erin said, the rest is history from there.
So is Ayanna is basically like the matchmaker? Is that the real?
Not basically. We can't say basically. She is the matchmaker. She proudly proclaims that she was our Cupid.
Yes.
I was like, you want to tell the story?
She told me that he was going to be my husband when he first started working there. She said, like, this is going to be your husband. And like, I told her I wasn't going to date a coworker. I just graduated from college. This is my first big girl job. I'm not going to date a coworker. And she said, no, date this coworker. This one is the right one. So she
Really?
Wow.
She married us as well. And she gave us the name of our business. She honestly is our big sister through and through.
Wow.
That's dope.
That's really dope. So, okay, so I have a bunch of questions, but
You don't gotta
just
say
just from what you said, from what both of you said, why politics? Why?
That's a good question. Ooh.
Because like I love Scandal, right? That show was great. But it's it's not so far from the truth.
Yeah.
So
I feel like our whys are different because we both got into politics long before we even knew each other.
Yeah.
So like our whys are definitely a little different. My why is rooted in having my immigrant family come here and like seeing the challenges it is to navigate the systems coming here. My story starts in like being raised in the Black Boston and like seeing the difference when we talk about what the life expectancy is from here to Cambridge. When we talk about those things, it really got me on a community level, and I just started trying to do things for my community. The first ever community event I did by myself was organizing at 16 years old my block party. And for me, that was like really like just getting the start in the work. And it was just fun and games. It was a block party. But ultimately, that did lead into my career and where I am today. And so for me, it's always been about giving back to my community, providing my community with resources and information that they don't have. And for some reason, I've always been able to have access to the information. So it's always about me getting that information to my community.
Love that. Okay.
Yeah, that's really eloquent. I stumbled upon politics. So I really, I'll say that, like in terms of politics, it wasn't something that I saw really growing up. You know, I was telling someone the other day, I remember my parents going to vote, but I think the first time and only time I remember my parents going to vote was for President Obama, 14 at that point. And so you think about a lot of people who are like, well, at least a lot of our contemporaries people that we work with and are in this field, like they've been going with their parents to vote since they were 2 years old. And it was just like it was a culture around civic engagement that got them involved in politics. But for me, it was more so just filling a gap. And I always have felt like in different points in my life, I was afforded an opportunity to fill a gap that caused me to stumble upon politics. So really coming out of Morehouse in 2016, I had done a lot of work on campus in terms of community organizing. I ran my own community service organization, started my own nonprofit while I was in college as well. And we were just doing work in the greater Atlanta area, mentoring kids, doing, beautification projects, cleanup projects. But I never thought of it as organizing or as community organizing when I was doing it. It was more so like, there's this gap, we are one of the most historical HBCUs in the country, and we have this Atlanta community that's right next to us that has need. And so it's like, how do we serve that need? And after graduating college, I didn't have a job, was like really struggling to figure out what was next. And, I stumbled upon the job at the NAACP, but I'll say like everything came full circle when I started there because I got to work with young people, people who were, between the ages of 8 and 22, all who were younger than me and a lot younger than me than when I got involved and saw politics ever in my life. And so to have the impact and see like such, young people getting involved at such an early age and wanting to like really put their time, volunteering their time, volunteering their talents, volunteering their resources to really give back to their community and learn how to give back to their community. It made me want to say like, how can I do more of this? And I'll say like one other thing about politics that I relate to about Scandal is like every day it's a challenge. Like I feel like my favorite part about it is like, especially when you get into campaigns, it's like every day it's like, how do I get this advantage over my opponent? I really, as a former athlete, like I get a thrill off of like that competition.
So before, because Leah has the next question, but I want to ask, because both of you in your own lives before coming together have been about service, right? Which is very honorable, especially in a time, and we might be like, a couple of, like not much, but like we're a couple of, well, I'll tell you after. So, but it's such a selfish, self-censored society, right? Where it's me, it's instant gratification. What's in it for me? I'm not volunteering. If there's not a check involved, it's not an opportunity. For both of you to be of service in such a way, what led you to, and again, this is the pre-question to what Leah's getting ready to ask you, but why not do what others are doing where you're running for city council or running for, what made you take a different approach and do what you're doing?
Yeah, so I will say, oh wait, Leah, are you asking me a question now too?
No, go ahead.
Well, maybe we'll ask it because then it bleeds into what they're going to answer, I guess. Well, does that make sense?
No, just like.
All right, yeah. See, I have to. She's the boss.
Her deference, yes.
Well, as I was saying that, you know, this man is actually very smooth. He's real smooth. At the beginning of our relationship, back when we were just friends, I have always had the dream, for me personally, I've always wanted to run for office. I had told myself from when I first got into, well, I worked for then City Councilwoman Ayanna Presley back when I was in high school as an intern for her. And after working in her office, I said to myself, like, if she can do this, I can be the first youngest African-American female mayor of Boston. And that was my goal for the long, like literally all the way up until I got to DC. That was my goal, was to run for mayor of Boston. But ultimately, so when I met him, he met me knowing that my goal was to be mayor of Boston. And he told me that if I married him, I didn't have to pay him to be my campaign manager. So he already.
But does that go against ethics, though? See, I'm learning.
There's a lot of ethics that definitely, there are some people who are for it and some that are against having your spouse work in your campaign. But ultimately, I don't think Anthony has ever had the political bug. He's always liked the behind the scene work. It more so lived with me. But I think as I've had the experience to work in local government, to work in the state house, to work at the federal government, I've seen the different areas. I really feel like my wheelhouse is also behind the scenes, and I do best, and I can preserve my mental health and my energy best. And I you know, God is still healing me. I'm not fully healed. So for me, my Dorchester will come out. So it's fine. I'm fine. We're not running yet. I got growth.
And I know exactly, yeah, I know exactly what that means. And, you know, I was hoping, you know, before this live happened, I was secretly hoping that you had like more Roxbury ties, because, you know, there's always a thing between Roxbury and Dorchester, and I'm always getting on people. But I'll bow down for the sake of this conversation.
Roxbury, and that's all they get from me. I'm a Dorchester girl through and through.
So this leads to Leah's question of yeah.
Kind of, but not really.
Kind of, yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you, either one of you or both of you, explain what the Davis system is?
Yeah, I'll take that. The Davis system is a proud Black-owned and woman-owned social impact firm. And what that means is that we work with our clients to help them connect to communities and help the community connect to the resources that our clients have to offer. So a lot of times some of our clients have like things that they offer, whether that be a service or whether that be a program that they're trying to engage with the community in, and we really help them build out their strategies for community engagement. And then we think about it we always say from a social impact way. And so how are the communities that have been most impacted getting the most of these resources as well? And so a lot of our work obviously is geared towards working in the Black community, working in communities of color, working with the LGBTQ community, and also working with, well, you know, we like to say that we're rooted in community, and we tie the community to resources as well.
And so, did you have anything, Aaron?
No, he has the elevator down, I promise.
So I have a follow-up to that, right? Is there a screening or vetting process for candidates? Like, and I guess my real question is, how does the Davis system handle if person X reaches out and is anti-women's rights, anti-community, anti-businesses run by people of color, anti-Dorchester? like, do you kind of take your morals and what you believe to the side, or do you align who you work with those things?
Can I answer that, Dave?
Yeah, I think definitely, I think the part of being a business owner is the fact that we do have the ability to do that now. Like we didn't per se have the ability to do that before, especially with not to speak on Anthony's experience with being a young organizer. When the campaign ends, your job's over, and like how do you have to be either securing your job before the campaign's over, but that's hard to do when you're working on getting through election day. And so there's always that like time when you're out of a job, when you're going back in, and like all of these things that, you know, now that we have our own firm, that alleviates that. And so there definitely has been already, you know, we're going on year 2 with our company, and there already has been moments where you have to choose morals over somebody else, or, you know, past relationships and, you know, community building that we've done with one person over another. But we feel really fortunate to be in an opportunity now where we can do that, where we're not just like being forced to be in places because we need the money to like eat, to like get to the next space. But like now we can actually make a decision that is authentic and true to our morals and the things that we want. Not saying that we work for people we didn't believe in before, just to be clear.
Do you have like a soft way of saying like, no, thank you, we're not for you? Or do you just say, we'll get back to you, and then just hope that they get the hint?
No, we've let people down before in the past, and I got a couple of things sitting in my inbox right now that we might need to do. We might need to do that too right now. But you know, realistically, I think Erin, she put the nail on the head. It's like we have been conflicted out of a few situations, more so because of past relationships, or it hasn't necessarily come up like a moral issue yet. I think for me, like that one would be a lot easier to explain and turn down. Like we just aren't aligned morally, and no, there's no amount of money that can make me work against my morals. And I think that's another us. It's like we've turned down a significant amount of money and either just went with the less amount or went with nothing at all, just for the cause of preserving our mental health, knowing that we're doing the right thing for us and our business as well. I think one thing that's important is like for us is like, do we believe in the candidate? Do we believe in their ability to win? But do we believe in them as a person? And for me, it's like, regardless of win or lose at the end, like, you know that you made the right decision. And I don't think that those type of things, when you make the right decision, when you make a genuine decision, those type of things don't come back to bite you. Whereas if you chase the money, I think on the back end, those type of things can come back to bite you.
And I want to add, because I feel like Anthony gave like a short checklist of the things that we like look for in a candidate. I will also add, do you show up in community? Like we feel like we're two people that are always in community. We're at a lot of community events. If as an elected official, we don't feel like we've seen you for like. I like my elected officials in community. You don't always like that's where I
right
in a real way when the cameras are not rolling. Exactly. So the Davis system, right? So the Davis system LLC is created. What was the catalyst for you to, you're dating, you're not yet married, right? I don't know if you were engaged when this business was created. Like, what made you two individual people join together to create a business and be at the hip while you were still learning each other and venturing as a couple, as a new couple?
Oh, that's a really good question. You want me to start?
Yeah, no, it was your idea. So
well, I'll start. So the business was always something that I had a dream of doing and starting. And I'll say like the catalyst behind that was really like spending time, like as I said earlier, traveling around the country, working on different campaigns and being exposed to what I saw was the rooms where the decisions were being made, and seeing that a lot of the people who were in those rooms didn't look like me, didn't look like you all, didn't look like Erin either. And for me, that says a lot about the direction that politics is moving in as well, because if we only have rooms where there's white men who are cisgender white men at that, who are making the decisions and are the ultimate, you know, where the buck ends in terms of messaging, how we're communicating with people, how we're strategizing in terms of getting out into the community, they'll make decisions that deprioritize our communities time and time again. And we've seen that time and time again. And so for me, you know, being in those rooms, being exposed to those rooms, it was just like, how do I get in those rooms? And as I, did more in campaigns, got more exposure, got, promoted to a higher level, I got to the point where it was like, all right, like I've amassed, I've got enough experience, I've got enough knowledge where I can do what some of these people in these rooms are doing. Like, and they're getting paid crazy amounts of money to not really do much. And the other thing was I had gotten to the point, and I'm sure Aaron similarly, where it was like, I feel like our impact could be more than in one place at one time. And I think it's needed in more than one place at one time. And that was the thing where it was like, okay, if I'm working on this campaign full time, this is everything. I'm putting all of my energy into this. But let's say I get this candidate elected, but the rest of the city councilors don't agree with that candidate. Like if we get the mayor elected, but the rest of the city councilors don't agree with them, won't be good partners, then what was the point of putting all that work in? Because the mayor won't be able to do anything. So now it's like we have our hands in a lot more different pots at one time to make sure that the actual impact and the outcome that we hope for is actually, we have a hand in it, that we can actually say that we did our best, we put our best foot forward to make sure that actually happened. So as far as like starting the business, that was really the catalyst for it. It was always something I wanted to do. I shared that with Aaron like early on when we were dating. And then we actually got engaged about 10 months before we started the business. So we got engaged. I wrapped up Mayor Ru's campaign, and I was like, "Yo, I think it's time. Like, I think it's time to start the business." And
oh yeah, well, then I have a degree in entrepreneurship, so I always knew I was going to like own something at a point in time too. Like I always had an eye for like business and wanting to like run my own company. And so having the business class is having the like some of the marketing experience, the background. We kind of just like and being from the community as well. Like we were able to like all just come together and like build out the Davis system. And it was the congresswoman in like literally the last month of Michelle Wu's campaign that like announced it one time. It was like, and I love the Davis system. We were like, oh, that's the name of the business. And like that really, it just gone from there.
That's dope.
So, okay, you work together and then you work together. Are you guys, at this time, are you, and this might be TMI, but just, this is kind of building up to the next question, right? At the time of your engagement, are you guys living separately or together?
Together. Well, so we first moved in together during the pandemic. The pandemic hit. Well, I would say the pandemic hit. Then Elizabeth Warren dropped out of the presidential race. Anthony came back home to Maryland, and we moved in together right at the start of the pandemic. And this was my first time ever living with a man full time. That honestly. That right there was how we got married. Because if that didn't work, that was a lot. That was a lot.
Yeah, we had been together long distance for a year, almost year and a half at that point. And we went from long distance to living together in the pandemic. And it tested us.
We was together, living together when we got engaged, and like have been this entire time. Which I genuinely believe that if we hadn't had that time in the pandemic together, I don't like that really is what cement, because a few people feel like, we may have got engaged, a year and a half into our relationship, but it really was like the COVID that like cemented, like we were spending literally 24 hours a day together.
Right. I mean, for some people that helps them, and then for others, not so much.
It sealed the deal for them to separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I asked that question because my next question, or the main question, was, you guys spend a lot of time together, right? You work together, you live together, you're together. How do you separate your personal from your business life?
Or do you?
We're working on it.
That's real.
Yeah, we're not that great at it currently. But I think there's a mix here because, we genuinely do like spending time with each other. Like we have fun being very in our most casual, going clubbing, going to parties. Like we enjoy doing that kind of stuff together as well. It actually he's my best friend. So like I do like going out with him, but I also realize that my girls don't always want to hang out with him, and so like I feel like as we've gotten older too, my idea, like I was a club promoter for a really long time in Boston, and like my idea of like going out to the clubs now, and like to me it's like, first of all, I'm not waiting in a line in a club I used to be able to walk straight into. That's number one. That's number one. It's not even about him. It's about me and my ego. And after that, it's like, it's the same people doing the same things. I'd rather at this point, I have the space and ability to curate moments and events for my team and for people I love and care about. And I'd rather do that and like do a movie night in our backyard, or like do a themed like, dinner party and things of that nature with the people I actually care about, than going out doing those type of things. So I think we don't do it a lot because we're entertaining people a lot. But when we first got our apartment together, we nicknamed it. We used to have people come over all the time, and it was like the political chill spot for the young professionals at our.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like we're still learning the balance. It's something that we're mindful of, but we're actively working on it. Because, and I think one of the beauties of it is that our business is so small right now that we can kind of go through these growing pains. And shout out to some of our team members who are on the call right now. I see Asia, I saw Tan, I saw Anissa on here, I saw Miles. They're the ones who are like, and Richie, obviously I shouted out earlier, but
Richie is active in the chat. I see you.
Oh, Jeff is on here too. One of our,
and Jeff as well.
all the way from Texas.
And these are the people who have to like deal with that. We are learning how to like get through it. And as they comment right now, they're the ones who have to deal with us as we're learning how to like deal with each other in these situations. And I would say like, when we started out, it was just the two of us, and then we used to be like this.
About
everything, but
the website color literally argument lives in the back of my head.
But it's gotten better. Like we could say, like I would say, like a year later, it's definitely better, and it's like we're both learning how to, I think, for the betterment of our business, for the betterment of like our team, but also for the betterment of our relationship, like how to compartmentalize these things. Because I feel like earlier in our business, like these things would quote unquote come home with us. Obviously, like we were working at the time, so that was even more difficult. It's like we get into arguments over some work stuff and at home, and then 2 hours later we want to sit down and eat dinner and watch TV. But but that was CEO and COO, not husband and wife, and it was like we had to learn, and we're still learning how to separate those roles, and that not hold over what either what we may do as husband and wife, let that affect what we do in our business, or affect what happens in business affecting our marriage as well.
I just want to add in, our team yesterday when we were, we read them a couple questions that you all sent us to like brief us for this, and our team was like, we feel like we need to answer the first part about how y'all work together, and then y'all can take over the rest. What is it actually?
So I will say, and you have it seems right. I don't know for certain, but it seems as if you have a very strong community of people who are really pulling for you, right? And I think in marriage, it's important to have a village. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people underestimate that, or underestimate the value of it. But me and Coach, but you have people who are pulling for you, which I think is helping the massive undertaking that you all have consciously taken on, right? Which I don't know if I would have done that. I don't know if we would have survived if we took that approach, right? Because we went through so much. And Leah will say it's all of my, of course it's my fault.
You went through so much. Don't put me in.
I know, babe. So, but not only being like a new couple, right, which is a real thing, and that's time and commitment and patience and tolerance and communication, then a business, and then a team who you are managing and being a support system for them. Like, that's a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to you two for doing that, because it that inspires the next, right? When people feel like, that's, I can't do that. And, whatever they're thinking about doing, it inspires them to do that. It inspires us. Because for a long, long time, even doing this, the podcasts and different things that we're doing, it was hesitation on my part because I didn't feel like we were solid enough. And so, to your point, Anthony, like, I didn't want us to be doing stuff for other people, and we're entertaining people, right? But then the house is burning down. I was very, very, very conscious of that and didn't want to have that happen. So I just wanted to
I'll let you know you did not have to worry. I know that, okay?
she cuts clothes. She doesn't burn them.
No, I don't do any of those things. Don't tell the people that.
Let's
not true.
Let's move
but
on.
Anyway.
Nothing to see here. All right, so we want to get more into wow, time's flying. Okay, so get into a couple of things. One, before you got married, did you do any therapy, or was it talking to a pastor or reverend or any kind of premarital stuff?
Yeah.
Or even somebody in the community, somebody that you looked up to. It didn't have to be professional.
Yeah, no, we did do premarital counseling. It was group premarital counseling, not individual. And it was with our church. We go to our church, we watch virtually because it's in Maryland. It's Zion Baptist Church. And they had something called SYMBIS, Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts. And it was like a 6 to 8 week couples, like, premarital lessons where we got to, it's like answering this really long survey. And then the survey compared our answers on how we both answered, but also talked about how we grew up. So it made us answer the similar questions about our parents as well. And so it shows you what type of household you both grew up in and the differences in your household. And then the expectations that you currently have in your relationship. And then the expectations you have of your marriage, and pretty much almost all of those fields. And that SYMBIS training has been really helpful for us, and I think we definitely go back to it. One of the things that it said for us in the training was that we will have a very beautiful relationship, but what's going to be the hardest is whether or not we give each other grace, and that grace is going to be the biggest thing in our relationship because we have so many things competing, and we spend so much time is whether or not we give each other grace to get through it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that at least I took from premarital counseling is like taking a moment to just step away, pause, and give him some grace and come back to it.
Yeah, I agree, and that was the main thing that we did, and otherwise a lot of unsolicited advice, which anyone who's out there engaged listening to this, just prepare, be ready for a lot of unsolicited advice, and take from it what you say. There's definitely some nuggets in there that we took as terms of advice, but and then
other people, we just found out they was married when they started giving advice. We were like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that part.
It's really these married streets, okay? So one thing that you said about the Simba training, you mentioned the expectations of self and of marriage, right? I think a lot of people go into relationships without discussing those expectations, right? And so how did you guys formulate your expectations of one another and then communicate them to each other?
Yeah, so the test actually had us, like Aaron was explaining, it had us basically say, like, what were like the household things that you saw growing up, like who took out the trash, like who cooked more, who washed the dishes, like different house, who did the ironing, who different things around the house, but so like who was in charge, like the main disciplinarian in the household, like who was the person who drove the kids to school, etc., like those different things. And so it had us compare what we saw growing up, like who was the main person between our mom and our dad, and then on the back end, like, what is our expectations for our marriage?
Right.
And I think one of the beautiful things was that although Aaron and I had both had like different upbringings in terms of like when we look at the things matched up, like there were things that like her mom did that my dad did and vice versa, and you know, some things that overlap, but in terms of our expectations for our marriage, and I think that this was probably a result of us having lived together for, at that point, like for a year, getting that crash course and living together during the pandemic, that majority of our expectations for like how we wanted our relationship to move forward was they aligned. And I think for like smaller things like
I think it was like one of the things is like who pays the bills. In my household when I grew up, my dad would always joke like I work and I hand over the check to your mom and she makes sure everything's done. But my mom would always joke all the time that he would call him swiper, and then he would always be swiping the card, never looking at him. He calls me swiper, and I don't want to look at an account. But when I grew up, my expectation was that I was going to manage this money and that this was going to be a thing for me. And I was stressed thinking that this was going to have to be my responsibility in a marriage. And then when we saw that sheet, it was like, Anthony's like, no, man, money's a big thing for me. I want to manage the money. Swiper, no swiper. I'm out. I'm ready to go. Like, I'm like, I don't have to look at an account again. Like, and so
Right.
definitely, I think. But then there were other things like we both wrote that like my dad didn't really help with homework, and so he was like, but he really wants to help with homework, and I'm like, okay, well, how am I gonna do homework? And he's like, you can read bedtime story. Like we are not pregnant and we are not having kids anytime soon. I don't even know why I use those as examples. Let me just bring it back.
But that's okay. It works, right? I mean, it paints a clear picture of how, roles are not assigned to a specific person, and no one has to be left out, right? Like we can both do this same thing in a different way, right? Yeah, you're not helping with math, right? I know you said you guys are not pregnant and not going to be pregnant anytime soon, but you're not helping with math, and that's okay. Dad can handle math, but guess what? I'm gonna handle this LA. I'm gonna read to you at bedtime. We're gonna do the reading, and so yes, you're getting all the things that you need from both of us, right?
Exactly. And
Well, Leah has this. There's certain things.
Talk for me.
There's certain things where, like, for example, when it comes to like the girls with certain things, right? I feel we have a 2-parent household, so Leah is versed in those things, and so Leah can just kind of handle that, right? And I can handle when my son, well, I don't want to put him out there, so I can handle the son stuff, right? But Leah's like, no, you should be able to, and I'm like, listen, people have had to do that because it's a 1-parent household, right? But there's a benefit of having 2 parents where one can take the lead and the other can back off. But because she's a contrarian,
We both gonna tackle this, and that's what it is.
you see?
You gonna come at it one way, I'm gonna come at it another way. Because here's the beauty in that, right?
Okay.
Here's the beauty.
Yeah.
Whether it's disciplining, whether it's just a regular kickback conversation or an old school schooling, right? My words may not hit the same way as your words. My examples may not hit the same way as your examples, right? We know that men, sorry, sir, you guys are tone deaf to women's voices.
All right.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Which, this isn't a Keisha Cole.
Doesn't have to be, and I'm not beating nobody down. I'm just saying the real. Okay?
I hear very well.
Yeah, well, then you have selective hearing. So, anyway.
They all do.
I know.
Please. All right.
But the point is that, we can combat some issues together. It doesn't always have to be that one person. And the beauty of it is that we are a 2-parent household, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes we may not always agree upon whatever the issue is or the topic is. However, we can give both perspectives.
Yeah.
So
She's still a contrarian, even though what she said makes perfect sense. Like if I say it's raining outside, she's gonna say no, it's snowing. So it's just for context for you guys.
but I won't. If it's raining, it's raining.
One of the other things we learned in Simbis is that Anthony is all about logic and I'm all about emotion. And I feel like we just in real time, like we will do the same thing that y'all just did, and I'll be like, "Well, you're just not listening to my emotions, and that's fine. Like that's what you're gonna do today." And just,
but see, I tell you what, the beauty is, and kudos to you. I don't have my hat on, but kudos to you because she embraces what was said and owns it and says, you know what, that's a fact. You, if you're told that, you're gonna be like, that's not true. I have logic and I have emotions and this, that, and the third, and blah, blah, blah.
And I do, because I do.
I just, you know,
and I'm never telling you it's not true. What I'm saying is that there's another answer to what you're saying.
I can't. So,
anyway.
So, are you both familiar with the 5 love languages?
We are, yes.
So, do you know and do you feel comfortable sharing what your love languages are?
Okay.
I don't remember mine.
Okay. So I know mine. My first one is physical touch, and that's why in my vows, I told him I will always touch him with my pinky toe, even if I'm mad at him, because that is me trying to tell you I still love you, even when it's feeling real hard for me. So that one is one for me. And I think that some people don't think that, Asia, that physical love touch can transfer. That's one of our team members who continuously tells me that physical touch cannot be a love language, because what do you do when you hug yourself? And I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah, yeah. People should. But what is it with women and feet? She puts her feet on me, like in the bed with, same thing.
Okay, so it is the same thing.
What is that?
But it's not. So here's the thing. I am not a cuddler, okay?
Definitely not.
And his love language is also physical touch, right?
Unfortunately.
But I don't like to cuddle. And so that's just my way of saying, baby, I want to I want to show you that I love you, and I want to show you that I understand your needs. So let me just wrap my leg around you, but please don't put your whole body on top of me right now, because I just don't want to spoon right now. I don't want to do it. I don't want to. It's hot. Like, I just don't want to.
So now that makes sense when you all see me out and I look angry. You know what I'm saying? There's reasons for it. So
the best I can do is wrap my legs around you, intertwine my legs with yours.
Thanks.
If we are not, you know what I mean?
And I love you for it.
Good for you. I love you.
So you don't remember yours?
But you had your second.
Oh yeah, my second one was acts of kindness.
Acts of kindness.
Okay. No, service.
Acts
the same.
Well, yeah. Service. Well, it should be kindness. Same.
Yeah, it's the same.
Letting me know that you are thinking of me even when we're not together, and like there's something that you're willing to do to just make life easier, because there's just so much happening all the time.
So men are typically words of affirmation.
Yeah, I'm quality time and words of affirmation.
Yeah. And it changes where, you know, it's actually a really good exercise or practice, if you can, to kind of just revisit that, right? Because a lot of times, because mine was words of affirmation, and because Leah's a contrarian, oh my God.
But go ahead, I'm saying.
So, you know, I think it's more physical touch and quality time versus words of affirmation for me. Yeah. But words of affirmation was a really big deal at one point, but now it's not. And so hers, gifts, you like quality time, but gifts?
So my love language initially, my number one was quality time. And that was my main one, but then it was also acts of service. However, right now, I am definitely
Gifts.
Which is crazy.
So pause.
So no.
Pause.
No, let me explain why.
No, I just need to tell them and give them context before you.
don't.
No, this is important.
You don't.
I'm telling you.
Okay,
I
go
promise.
ahead.
So I'm not gonna zoom in, right? You see?
Is it? Yes. It's sparkly. I like.
That, so that's recent. A recent upgrade. Shout out to Beyonce, right?
As you should.
No, don't clap.
I deserve it.
No.
Now, regardless.
No. So recent upgrade, and I mean like months, right? So we went to the store the other day to get it serviced and to get it cleaned. She sees something that's on sale. And it's like, oh my God, this is so beautiful.
Beautiful.
And it's $4,000, but it's half off.
No, you're cool.
Huh?
It was on sale though.
Oh my.
So what I really saw was something that was
Left the mall. Before we started this live, we was at the mall, and he not gonna tell me nothing because he called me swiper, but he enables me. So
here's the thing, right? So I did not, for a long time, I did not like gifts. I didn't know how to receive them, right? I was always the gift giver, never the one who can receive it. Like, I remember before, like, he'll bring me something. I'm like, how much you spend on this? Why do you do that? Questioning, always questioning. But now I'm like, give me. I want it all.
And mind you, she just came from seeing Usher.
I did.
And she just came from London.
I did.
And meanwhile, I'm here working in the rain.
You are.
Okay. As long as you're okay with that. All right. So as we are,
well, I'm gonna be transparent. We don't even have our honeymoon on the calendar yet, but more and more clients keep getting added, and I don't see a honeymoon getting added. And so at this point, I'm like, well, we might need to go on the next trip together too.
Wait, so y'all didn't go yet?
No, not. We're going to the vineyard tomorrow. He's about to be like, exactly.
That's not honeymoon.
It's not the honeymoon. We're going to the vineyard tomorrow to hang out with some friends and take some rest time, but it's not the honeymoon, no.
It's not. So here's what I will say, and I know you guys, the business is new, right? But the one nugget I will say is to do not put you all on the back burner. Make sure you take that time because it's well deserved and it's well needed. I don't care if you guys just got married yesterday, right? I know you didn't, but I'm just saying, right? Like, you need that. You need that. I feel like for me, and I say this, I feel like every time that we take a trip, when we have our alone time, our alone time, it makes me fall in love with him all over again. And not that you have fallen out of love, right? But it just, get out of here. It just makes that love grow stronger and deeper. So don't negate taking the time for you.
And shout out to Big Bro. I mean, he told me, I'm sure he's your big bro too, Conan, right? He has like a standard date night that and I was like, really?
Of her, we know that she don't break it for anything lightly. She's going on date night with her husband, and I really respect that.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
And if she can do it, you know what I'm saying?
And
So,
a date.
Yes, he did the first date post-marriage, so the second date is on me, but we going to the vineyard.
It's been a little while.
well, we used to get competitive and we stopped it, but like she would do something, it would be really dope, and then I have to one up her, and then it started getting a little pricey, and then she wasn't being so nice to me, and she's a contrarian, and then like I had to like eat out a little more because I don't believe that women cook. I don't believe that that's their role, but she's an excellent cook, so I defer, right? No need of me in the kitchen burning stuff. Just please, babe. But then
make your famous spaghetti and call it a day.
Oh my God! All right, so we have one choice answer game that we wanted to do. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear
Yeah.
us?
Yeah. Okay. So Now just answer. If you want to, explain your answer, you can, but you don't have to, right? This is kind of like the sober drink champs. All right, so monogamy or polygamy?
Monogamy.
Yeah.
Wait, you said polygamy?
No, I said monogamy.
Oh, wait, I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, one said one. Okay, all right, got it.
Okay. Role playing or sexting?
I have spelling errors in my sexting.
Say it again.
As a word.
I said he's an English major, and I be having spelling errors in my sexting. So role play.
I can't.
Oh no.
Agreed.
He be like, you forgot a comma there. I'm not even horny no more.
Oh no. All right. Hot date night or a vacation?
Vacation. Yeah. Easy.
So
Okay. Bedroom bully or horny goat weed?
I don't know if we tried either of those.
Well,
Goat weed sounds more.
we'll tell you what, we'll reconvene after the honeymoon. We'll ask that question again.
They just gave us 2 ideas for the honeymoon. That's what I
Wine and Jill Scott.
all of our staff is like, I feel like I'm listening to my parents right now.
Oh no. Wine and Jill Scott or tequila and Future?
Oh, not tequila. Cognac.
Hennessy and
Oh,
Future.
okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll make an amendment.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Uno or spades?
I'm still learning, so Uno.
There's a point of contention here. She says that she's still learning, but she's not actually trying to learn how to play spades. And
I am trying to learn how to play spades the same way I'm learning how to drive to get my license. It's happening. Behind the scenes. No one's seeing it. That's another contention point. I don't have my license, and he is like tired of driving me around. But I love being a passenger princess.
Passenger princess, and only can play Uno at the kids' table.
I'm gonna win, and I'm just there.
So J and B or Sierra and Russell?
Ooh.
J and B.
J and B, yeah.
All right. Hit him up or Issa?
Ooh.
What do you right here?
Wait, say it one more time.
Hit him up or Issa?
Ooh. Hit him up or Ether. Ooh. This is above. This is above Aaron's
I was
head.
like, who's hit him up?
This is above
What's happening?
This is where her West Indian roots come in. I would say Ether.
I tell people all the time, I married a real American. His family's from West Virginia and Ohio. Like, that's way out of the ballpark that I thought I was going to end up marrying. But my first American I ever dated, and I married him. Love it.
American boy. All right, so last question, and then there's something that just happened today that I want to get y'all's take on. So before I let go, Beyonce's version or Frankie Beverly and Maze?
Don't do me on this live with all these people on here.
And you need to be careful because I think it makes us feel away. So answer carefully.
So do I tell the people or do you tell the people?
I'm not gonna embarrass myself.
Well, this is two back-to-back questions that are timely because Aaron didn't know that there was a Frankie Beverly and Maze version of the song. So, yeah, sip the drink.
I literally thought Beyonce's version was the original version, and the way he almost didn't marry me because of that comment, it was real. And my dad's a DJ, so my dad also was ready to be done. It was a lot. That everybody was done.
So we can agree that Frankie Beverly Amaze's version.
That
of that
version is way better.
Yeah.
Beyonce tried.
All right. So the very last thing, there was a clip that is going viral today of Yo Gotti. He's not married to her, but he's dating Angela Simmons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was doing an interview on a radio station, and she called, and he answered the phone live while they were interviewing. He was like, "Oh, I'm on the phone. Well, I'll call you back." So the question that's going viral is like, do women want a man that will answer their calls no matter what, right? So I guess phrasing. So I'll ask that question first, and then the second question would be, how would either one of you handle that if the other person called and you're, whatever, interviewing a potential candidate on a radio, whatever.
The way that we would send the other person on ignore so fast and be like, you should have looked at the calendar and knew better than to call right now. Like, it's literally like, ignore. Like, you should just know better. Like, look at the calendar before you call. We have shared calendars for a reason. Like, I'm in a meeting. We have weekly check-in, check-out meetings every single week. We go through the full calendar. So you pretty much are aware. There's no reason why I should call him or he should call me in the middle of an interview. We're very much aware that the other person is in the interview. So I have no expectation on any circumstance for him to pick up my call because I know he's busy. If he's not busy, well, I do have his location. So I will just check real quick. Other than that,
Erin would have to call me like 2 or 3 times for me to think like, oh yeah, I need to pick this up. I'm gonna ignore it the first time, and she'll text me.
All right, so he said last question, but we're gonna finagle this and change it up just a little bit.
You can't do that.
Guess what I just did? So listen, you said that you have his location. So cell phones, computer, laptop, iPad, blah 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 blah. Password, shared password or not?
I would say that at this point we have common passwords, so he knows my common password that are like the same 3 passwords I would probably use for something. He knows what that password is and the variations, and I know his password and the variations. So even if he didn't give me the password to something, I'd be guessing the password and I can get in when I need to get in on stuff. And like, we don't have access. We have each other's codes. We share a bank account. We've shared a bank account before we were even married. So like, we definitely there's very much transparency here, and I tell Anthony all the time, like I joke about how he's the first American I ever dated, but I think that also coincides with this the first time I ever felt like I might not be cheated on. I'm like I've always been dating West Indians and African men. It might be a reason why I always felt like that. And so this time around, I'm not saying that American men are like, don't do that. I'm just saying this one I feel very secure with. And what we have, and so my phone is very much open and available to pick it up, and I feel no angst or extra beep in my heart when he goes to grab my phone, and I know he doesn't feel the same way on the other end. I don't go through his phone to look for it because I know there's nothing there, but I know if I wanted to go through it, I could.
Yeah.
Good. Right. Okay.
And it's been like that since before we were even engaged. Like, she's had my phone passwords, and like in ways, like she said, like in ways in past relationships where I may have not lived up to the stereotype that you're trying to say about American men. Where, like, I hand my phone off to her with like no care in the world. Whereas in the past, I used to, maybe be like, oh, give me a little second before I give you my phone. So I now I'm just like, it is, yeah, what it is.
And I feel real confident. I've had the same phone number since I was 12 years old. So if you ever don't know my number, and can't nobody call or text my phone without knowing this man gonna pick it up. So like, it's totally fine.
Well, Leah, I mean, we've learned a lot tonight, and then one of the things is I want you to like spend maybe a couple of hours with Erin and like get to the point of like sharing, you know what I mean, and the accounts and sharing, and take the last name, because your last name is like fabulous, it's magnificent, it's the best last name that you can ever possibly have.
I just bought this. It came in the mail today. The new upside down to change my name. It's like a box now that you can buy and has all the documents for me to be able to change my last name.
Oh, makes it easy. So So yeah, so I'm gonna set up something with you two. You can do like a lunch at like Cafe Nero or something simple.
We're gonna treat us to lunch.
Local, we're gonna go to the cafe.
You know that part. All right. Okay. All right. So
you can set that up, and then you can go get that 12-carat diamond tennis bracelet, and then I will gladly change my.
That was on sale. Exactly. The deal.
It was a steal.
okay. Yeah. Thanks.
I'm sorry.
All right, guys.
If I make it's okay.
Yeah, nothing to see here.
The matching tennis bracelet go in my ring. I know we 3 months in, but that don't mean that.
Sorry, I didn't mean that.
In this live.
Yeah, let's change the subject. So, can you let the people know anything that you have? Because I know that in your business, it's not as if like it's events. You're working with campaigns and people. Is there anything that you are doing as public facing that people can kind of look out for next, or is there something that you're going to be at that's going to be public? And I know you recently were at NAACP and you spoke, which was dope. And I seen, was it Channel 5?
Yeah.
Well, it depends which one.
Oh, so yeah, is there anything that people can look out for?
I don't think we have anything public. Well, we always getting into something, so it could literally change within the next week. But as of right now, all the events we have coming up is more private for our clients per se, so nothing out in the public yet. But we will obviously always be in community. Carnival is coming up. You will see us out in Carnival, making sure we support those efforts as well. So you will see us out there.
No.
That's the calendar right there. So whatever she says, go. I just show up.
And that's why if I call during an interview, he'd be like, you set this schedule. And then you call.
Oh, you know what? Sorry. Very, very last question, super quick, right? Because this used to bother me, but I'm just very used to it. Whenever I see one of you, the other is like not far from, right? But do either of you get annoyed if you're not like attached at the hip and someone sees you and like, oh, where's Erin? Oh, where's... Does that annoy either one of you?
Worst in the world when one of us isn't there, because we just spend the whole time answering why the other person isn't there.
Yeah, this is that family stuff. This is that like stuff, professional stuff now, like in the community. Like this is everywhere. Like if we don't go to a family function together, like, are y'all everything okay? Like y'all okay? Like y'all relationship? Like no, we just need a little space. We need a couple hours apart today. Like it's okay. Like everything's good. But yeah, that we do spend the majority of the time answering questions about if something's going on, if people don't see us together.
Sometimes I'll answer it and be fresh, and I'll be like, well, we're going through a tough time at the moment, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, oh my God. Like, seeing you want to ask, I'm a really, yeah. I mean, I'm out here just trying to, figure out what I want to do with myself. So, right, babe? Yes. I love it. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for joining and having this discussion with us. And I think that as was said in the chat, lots of little nuggets to take away. And I think that again, it's important for people to understand the power of what you two represent, and not just the Davis system, right? But it's actually the system of the Davises, of what you're doing and what you represent. And at your age, and again, we're only weeks older, but it's very impressive, and it's super, super dope when you have people who are 40, 50, 60 who are a mess and not anything to aspire to.
They haven't figured it out. Relationship-wise.
They just won't, right? Yeah. And God bless them. But yeah, kudos to you both. We are so happy to have you on, and we would love to do a follow-up at some point.
Sorry, I have one more question. So just, I know you guys spoke about Ayanna Presley, telling you that was going to be, Anthony was going to be your husband, and he was the one. Anthony, how did you know that Aaron was the one?
Ooh, that's a great way to end.
That is a good question.
He's trying to have a nice night.
He's gonna have a great night.
Oh, I got
This is gonna secure the great night.
so. Wow, this is a good way to end. So, actually, 2020 when 2020 was crazy for everybody. I would say, together for just over a year officially at that point, 2020, yeah. And we were living together, and there was a lot going on in the world. And then towards the end of the year, 2020, and like back-to-back months, I lost my uncle, my mother's only brother, and I lost my grandmother, my mother's mother. And
so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it was a really tough time for my family. It was a really tough time for my mom, as you all can imagine. It was difficult. I had to, be there. We had to travel a lot just to kind of like be with family. And just being with family during those times was difficult. And Erin literally she like showed up for like my family in ways that like I would always like, I couldn't imagine like what my wife would do in those moments, but like what she did was exactly what we needed, and what I needed. And like at times I know I was difficult to deal with during those times just because I wasn't properly like processing and like healing from the different things that were going on and trying to keep going back to work and keep going and going and going. And she made it, I always say like she made it through that time, but like she got me through that time, honestly. Like and like literally a couple months later I was like, nah, I'm about to go get the ring. Like she's the one. Like I know it was like, that was the worst, like for me, like in terms of my life, like I feel like that was probably the worst, like the lowest time of my life, just in terms of like not wanting to like have that momentum, that encouragement, like to keep going. And like she gave me everything literally that I needed to keep going in that time and to also be there for my family how I needed to. And so like it was, after that it was like no brainer for me. Like I'm getting a ring, getting on a knee. Like I bought the ring and proposed within like, it's all within like 2 weeks period, because I knew
Wow.
there was
2 weeks.
not 2 weeks
after the tragedy.
no, not 2 weeks after the tragedy, but like within like whenever I bought the ring, like 2 weeks after I proposed, because I knew like I know there'd be a lot of folks be sitting on that ring for a little while, and I was like, nah, I don't need to do that. Like she the one.
I also want to add in, he took me ring shopping. And I would always suggest that for any couple that you feel like you're having a conversation about you all getting married. Like we went ring shopping together. I chose like 5 different rings, and he ultimately chose the one ring of the 5 that I liked. And so I love that experience and us being able to do that. And I knew that he was going to propose sometime that year. The fact that he did it literally 2 weeks later, I was not ready, not expecting anybody. It was the only surprise I was going to get, because I wasn't expecting 2 weeks, but I was pretty much expecting any time after that.
Right.
So
Erin, so the follow-up will be for you, right? Like how did you know he was the one to say, again, despite what was being told to you, right? How did you know that that's what he was the one for you?
I knew Anthony was the one because literally, as I said, I felt differently. Like any other relationship, he made me feel differently. And we really started, because we were co-workers, we really got to start off with that friendship. And we were like spending so much time together. And during that time, I had was relatively new to DC, so didn't have too many friends. And Anthony was my friend. I was going to the clubs by myself in DC until Anthony and I started hanging out. And then it was just me and Anthony in the club. That's why I'm like, I'm going to now with my husband, because we was going to the club single together, and I was helping him get other women before he became mine. And so I definitely, for me, he's always been different. It's always been a swagger about him, and the way he carries himself. I always, one of the things I used to say back in the beginning of our relationship was that we could walk in the halls of Congress together, but we can also walk in the streets together. And I really love that about him. I feel as though I've met my person. A lot of past relationships I have been into, a lot of people wanted more for themselves because I wanted more for me. Anthony just wanted to be great who he is, and then wanted this for me and like us coming together. And I love the way he treated his mother, he treated his family, the way he prioritized them. We both say this, we were very much both happily single when we met each other, but became like happily engaged with each other, and it just was like, there's no way I can't be with you because this just feels too good to not happen.
Okay.
Wow. That's really okay.
Beautiful.
So,
Aw.
so I think that the good night's secured now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anthony, you're welcome.
All right. Thank y'all. We appreciate it, and we will definitely be in touch. And
God, it's me again.
so, have a good night. God bless, and we will see each other. We see each other out in these streets.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we'll see each other soon, and we got to do a game night. We got to do a couples game night soon.
Love that.
We're
love
down.
That.
We're
Yeah,
always down for that.
I'm not a spades player, so
Here we
Oh,
go.
listen, it's gonna be Uno. It's gonna be what was it? Left LRC, left, right, center. It's gonna be
never
never
have I
have I ever. It's gonna be taboo.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Y'all picture
So-
that people? Can y'all draw?
We can do Pictionary.
Yeah.
We can do charades. We can do reverse charades. We have all the things. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
We win it.
So we will see y'all very soon. God bless. Thank y'all so much for
Yeah.
being a part of System WEDLocked, and good night.
Night,
Night, you all.
Night.
Wedlocked and loaded.
Wedlocked and loaded.